So just want to show you my Reaper setup just so you kind of have a feel for the sort of thing that can be done on a fairly limited budget. So I've got obviously Reaper running on my computer. I've got my Icon G2, which I'm using as a control surface. I've got this Stream Deck, which I have programmed for use with it. I've got a passive attenuator that I'm using to control the volume of my speakers without having to adjust the volume of the master track in Reaper, because that would impact recording level. So then for my audio interface right now, I'm just using this Midas MR18 mixer. It's basically like my X32 mixer, only it's got fewer channels. And so it's providing 18 audio inputs and 18 audio outputs from Reaper, and 16 of those inputs are going through Midas preamps. And it's the reason I selected this mixer is because each of those 16 inputs can be either XLR or quarter inch. So it was a really great way to make it work with my synthesizers. I've also got several outputs connected up as inputs to some external effects gear that I've got. Using it with Reaper, I can only send a single one of those outputs out. So with Reaper, I'm using the MIDI-Verb 2, although when I'm recording, I can use obviously more of them. I've got some additional outboard effects, compressors and such, but that's I only use that stuff when I'm recording actual hardware synthesizer sounds. So at any rate, all the keyboards are going in here, as well as returns from those effects processors. So back over here, I've got the Stream Deck set up, which I'm using to do things like if I press the metronome button, it's turning the metronome on and off in Reaper. Or if I hit the full screen button here, that will change Reaper to full screen mode, just to buy myself some extra real estate. Gets rid of the toolbar at the bottom. So anyway, whole lot of features that I've got set up on there. Can add more. The mixer button I think is really handy because I can hide the mixer and show more tracks. But one thing I really like about Reaper is that it's super easy to see both tracks and the mixer at the same time, which is handy. And then the Icon G2, this thing's super cool the way it's set up. I'm using it with an extension for Reaper called, it's an OSC extension driven by Moss, which is configured specifically for the Mackie interface, and it provides some cool features that other extensions don't. For example, if we go up here and we look at the way I've got the drums constructed, this is a folder, and then all of the drums, the drum plugin, Easy Drummer 3, and then all of the drums within it are inside of that folder. That's really cool with the Icon, because you can see S drums, that's the sub master for drums, and if I tap it, then you'll see the folder open up, and now we can see all of the drums within the folder. And then I can come over here and flip through channels and go through the entire set of drums that are on the board. And then if I want to go and roll that back up, I just hold the select button, boom, I'm right back to the top. So that's the same with really any one of these that has more than one track in it. My effects, that has 2. So if I tap it, you can see I've got L-Verb, which is an internal effect, and then MIDI-Verb. That's actually sending out to the MIDI-Verb over there and bringing it back in, which is super handy. So anyway, that's one of my favorite features about this thing. I've got other stuff configured the loop button, for whatever reason, on the G2 does not work with Reaper. It's like not turning it on and off, but I added the loop button to my Stream Deck, and so I can simply turn it on and off with that. Button's in a different place, but it works just as well. Other thing that's a little weird is the playback button. If I hit play, it doesn't do anything. But that's because the way it's configured is, since there's no tracks record enabled, if I hit record, it'll start playback. So at that point, once playback is happening, hitting the play button will move the cursor to the current location, or if I double tap it, it'll move the cursor to the beginning. So it's just providing some additional functionality there, which is pretty cool. Let's see, a couple other things about Reaper that you might think are neat. So I've got this effect going on here with, this is just an EQ, and I assigned a low frequency oscillator that I created within Reaper. This LFO is just simply increasing a value and lowering a value, and I linked that to this frequency. So we're basically creating like a phasing effect there. And then let's see, another cool thing here. So I've got this Oberheim keyboard. That's this green guy here. You can tell that there's an effect on it because of this F. If I come in here and I select that track here, that will select it in Reaper. And now once I've done that, I can come over to the G2 and I can hit this effects plugin button here. And when I do that, it now takes the Oberheim synth, since that's the effect that's on the track, which you can't totally tell from here. If I hit this button here, you can see, actually I guess it was showing up over here. So the EQ is after the synth. The synth is the first thing there, which is this guy. So hitting that effect button, what that did was it took all the parameters from the synth and it has put them onto my control surface. So now if I hit play, or more to the point, hit record, and let's watch this frequency button. We can actually find that and see it happening. Let's go to the second page. You can see the filter. So you can see the knob value changing, and that's the frequency knob. Now another cool thing about this is I can hit this flip button and it will actually take the value that's moving on that knob and put it on the fader. And because you can put the fader into record mode, you can actually record those effects from the G2. Originally, I recorded it from the faders on this little $80 keyboard that I've got. All of these buttons, or all these knobs and faders, can be recorded in real time into Reaper, which is how I originally recorded that frequency while I was playing it, which is pretty sick. So let's see, turn this down. So we'll go ahead and close that keyboard. You can see these are just some Waves plugins that I've got running. A couple of 1176s. Close those real quick. This DPR 402 distressor is a really cool plugin. I'm using it on my drum bus. And let's see, what else can I show you? This is a custom Reaper theme that I found online and made my own tweaks to it. I like it because it's very clean and it doesn't show you a whole lot of color except where you need to see color, which I really like. So if I were to mute a channel, it just turns white. Doesn't need to Doesn't need to show me a lot more. That white is enough to be able to see what's going on if I'm looking for it. Another thing I like about Reaper a lot, the Easy Drummer plugin has a whole lot of drum, it has a drum mixer in it, and a whole lot of channels that can be assigned to each of those drums. I think maybe 18. And when I connected the plugin, it asked me if I wanted to create aux channels for it, and I said yes, and so it automatically created this very nice send matrix here, and then all of the inputs were also created. So they weren't assigned inside of Easy Drummer. I had to do that myself. But once I assigned those within Easy Drummer, that now all of the outputs from the various drums are going to the appropriate auxiliary input, which allows me to mix each drum or EQ each drum or whatever I want to do individually. Another handy thing is that the master fader or master metering here, you can control your metering options in Reaper, and for some reason, apparently I don't have this set up yet, but it is possible to set that up for LUFS, peaks and waveforms, track meters. I think there's another one for the master meter. Can't remember exactly where it is. I'm not going to worry about it right now. But it's really handy to be able to, or maybe you just right click on this. There we go. The mixer meter. So loudness is combined RMS. I can switch that to LUFS, which is super handy. So that's LUFS momentary. LUFS sustained. So this is that's a handy thing to be able to do. Now that I'm seeing LUFS sustained on there, I know a lot better how that's going to play on like a streaming service. So anyway, that's kind of a brief overview. There's also a bunch of other features on this thing that you can use to control like track heights and things like that, or scroll through. I can scroll through my entire setting or project with this. You can hold the scrub button and hold the knob, and while you're doing that, increase and decrease with the scrub wheel, which is kind of cool. Or you can increase the horizontal width with the scrub wheel, which is kind of cool. Or you can hit the zoom button, and that changes the functionality to zooming with just using the arrow keys. Or you go back to navigation mode. And then other buttons it's got this EQ action plugin. If I go to any track, let's say I go to this track here, and then I hit that EQ plugin button, it will actually add that EQ to the track right there, and it has added or switched the icon over to controlling frequency. So if I were to pull this guy up now, you can actually see that if I come over here and I start moving knobs, I'm making adjustments, and I'm making those adjustments with the icon. And then if I hit the flip button again, now I can control those things with the faders. So it's really cool on a compressor to be able to control more than one thing at a time. So anyway, that's kind of a brief overview of Reaper for you, so enjoy.